This is Next 5 Minutes with Shawn Abrams. The topic for today's session is leave space for nothing. The operative word is nothing. Now, because we do not perceive anything does not mean that nothing is happening. There's an old saying that says, seeing is believing. And people who subscribe to this train of thought understand with their senses, and as a result, they are led by their feelings. Now, I don't fault them for this. I only say that I am different. I'm with other people who say believing is receiving. We see a vision of what we desire for the future, and we work to make that happen. And that is the basis for the next 5 minutes. Now, I opened with nothing, but I want you to hold on to nothing because we're going to insert nothing into the latter part of this session. One of the complaints I hear people say is they don't get paid enough for the work that they do. Let me explain. Most employers can afford to pay you for your work. They call that fair market value, but they can never pay you for the work of your work, and that creates the problem for us. Your work is a job description. It's very black and white. It's logical. The work of your work is what powers your work. It's your heart. Think about an interview. We show up at the interview, we explain how well we fill the job description, the work, which is logical. But when we talk about ourselves, we say things like, I'm a good person, I'm a hard worker, I get along well with others. So you see, we say things that make us sound like we go the extra mile, things that lead the employer to believe that we can do more than just the work. Now here's a slightly different example. If I deliver packages, I will get paid to do just that. But if I want my body to perform at peak levels and recover quicker, I can do stretching exercises before and after work. This will better prepare me for the work. If I'm a manager, I know all my leadership and managerial training will not come from my employer. I might have to take some extra classes or attend seminars. All these extra things, the work of the work, is difficult for us to set a value to. And it will be difficult for an employer to do that as well. So you want to keep your job? You need to do good work. You want to get a promotion? Then the work of your work must be greater than good. Okay, you got the promotion. You're a manager and you want to rally your team to get something done. Don't waste your time saying, we need to do more work, because you're talking to their intellect. They already know the shortcoming. If you want to motivate your team, you need to talk to their work of the work. That's their heart. All right, so the work of the work is that extra. It's the unseen support of the work that is seen. And because this comes from our heart, we'll call it passion. Now, the other part of the equation we should call purpose, because that is just the work. So there is passion and there is purpose. And because I call this an equation, I want it to be balanced. So we cannot let our passion overrun or crash into our purpose. Let's avoid an accident. Listen, if we did the best that we could and the work lined up with purpose, then the work is complete. But when passion is greater than purpose, things go bad. The purpose was to go on a nice casual date, and passion took the date to a whole other level. You completed a project, it was good, but you decided to tweak it and you messed it up. Enter nothing. I explained work and the work of the work. Now I'll tell you that between the two, we need to maintain time and space. This allows for growth, but not for your work, because we tend to stand there and obsess over our creation. We think this is going to be great. The result, I'm changing my purpose. Now, sometimes I remind myself of this after I release one of these videos. If the video doesn't get 500 views in the first few hours, I think, uh-oh, something is wrong. And it's human to think this way. But if I start changing everything else based on what I perceive, I'm only pursuing success. And as a result, I'm changing my purpose. But because I don't see anything happening, doesn't mean that nothing happened. Have you ever come to a red light and thought your engine cut off? Well, you started the car again and you heard the gears grind, right? That's a nasty sound. But that's because we didn't perceive that the car was running. And so we weren't focused on it. Now that's important to note, because focus is intentional awareness. Now that time and space between the work and the work of the work, this is not for you to watch your work grow. Listen carefully. This is for you to grow. Now, do you have the intestinal fortitude to leave well enough alone? Can you leave some work for tomorrow? It's a question mark, full stop. Now, without time and space, your work and your work of the work, if they're too close, they tend to collide or short circuit. So there is stress and there is growth. So you don't want your heart resting on your work. And someone might say, well, I put my heart into my work. What's wrong with that? Well, if you do that, then there's no time for rest. There's no time to recover or even recoil for the next creative project. And we need to continue to grow in order to continue being creative. Some parents and guardians understand this. They lecture their children about life and then they send them out into the world. They will tell you that they know they must allow for time and space between the work of the conversation and the work that their child must eventually employ when necessary. They'll also tell you that the growth of their child did not come from the lecture that they gave. It came from the period of time and space in between the work, which some describe as nothing. And in the last several years, mindfulness has gained a lot of popularity. It involves the practice of getting in touch with our feelings and emotions. Do you know what one of those practices involves? Focus on breathing. It seems like nothing. It's designed to give you, that's right, you guessed it, time and space. According to an Inc. article I read, a Duke University biologist studied the effects of silence on the brain, essentially doing nothing. The biologist found that just silence can stimulate brain cells to grow in a part of the brain associated with memory. To the casual observer, nothing is happening. And for all intents and purposes, this is true. But only for those who must see to believe. Recall a time when you were on a date. You're having this great conversation and then nothing. Now you're like, what? What did you say? Oh, you didn't say anything? Oh, I didn't say anything either. So there's this awkward moment of silence. The silence feels like an eternity. Nothing is happening. And what's ironic is the thoughts that you feel at that moment are firing off synapses in your brain that you cannot perceive. And who's to say that at that time where there's silence between you and your date, that there aren't some invisible synapses firing off between the two of you? We call that chemistry, which would help you to grow together between the work of the conversation and the work of the work, which is your hearts. We still have a few moments left in this session, and so I thought I should allow 30 seconds for nothing, to give you the opportunity to get your brain cell growth on. Let me know how that works out for you. I'm Abrams, you're awesome. I'll see you in the next 5 minutes. Your 30 seconds of nothing starts now.